host, and this is my podcast, What Makes You Smarter? It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quotes, and you can possibly have me for your next event. I like to party with the people. Man, people have been booking me up like crazy in September. September 26th seems to be like the most popular date. I think that's the date that a lot of brides and grooms are getting convinced that, hey, this is going to be the date that we get out of quarantine. But I have had no less than 5 people ask me to be their DJ on September 26th of this year. And, well, fortunately or unfortunately, fortunately for one, but unfortunately for others, I'm already booked on that day. All right. And I'm already booking up for next year. So, hey, I'm excited about that. We're breaking out of quarantine. And, I'm sure we'll be wearing our masks and sanitizing and all that kind of thing, at least till we get this vaccine in order for the coronavirus, the novel COVID-19 coronavirus. I guess it becomes not novel when we know more about it. And I'm sure I say we, like I know anything about it. The only thing I know is what I read. The smart scientists that went to school for these kinds of things are the ones that are going to be saving the world. So if you know your math and you know your science and you know your biology, I encourage you, go save the world. You are essential, an essential personnel, as all of you are essential. Everyone listening, everybody on this planet is essential in some kind of way. Somebody needs you. All right. So stick around as long as you can and help somebody. You take care of yourself. You make sure that you're, fed and got a roof over your head, and got things that you need, and then try to help somebody else. Yeah. And which is what I do. Well, I mean, in a small kind of way, if I got myself straight on the other podcast that I do, What Makes You Famous, hashtag What Makes You Famous. I try to help other people. I talk to people. I pick their brains, and then I find out what makes them tick, and then find out why they are the way they are and how they became the people that they became to be. Now, lately, I've been talking to a lot of entertainers, a lot of artists, a lot of people that are, playing instruments or acting in movies, or they have some kind of a creative skill. But I invite anyone to get on the What Makes You Famous podcast, and let me line you up. Let me get you on the schedule. And I want to talk to you because everybody has a story. But for today, it's what makes you smarter. Now, on with the show. Today on the program, 10 things you need to know today for Saturday, August 8th, 2020. 10 things you need to know today. Number 1, stimulus bill talks hit another dead end after 2 weeks of negotiations. Congressional Democrats and White House leaders were again unable to agree on terms for the next CARES Act on Friday, closing out a second week of negotiations while remaining gridlocked. Democrats don't have the votes to support any bill under $2 trillion, and Republicans won't accept anything over it. While Democrats offered to slash $1 trillion off their $3.4 trillion proposal if Republicans added $1 trillion to theirs to meet in the middle. White House officials refused. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Democrat California, said Democrats previously rejected Republicans' standalone measure to temporarily continue the $600 per week unemployment boost that has now expired. White House officials said they had advised President Trump to take unilateral action on stimulus measures. However, Trump likely doesn't have the power to allocate funding via executive action. This is according to CNN and CNBC. Number 2, Intel official, Russia boosting Trump. China prefers he lose re-election. A top intelligence official says Russia is, quote, using a range of measures, end quote, to, quote, denigrate, end quote, former Vice President Joe Biden ahead of the 2020 presidential election. while China, quote, prefers, end quote, that President Trump, quote, whom Beijing sees as unpredictable, end quote, does, quote, not win re-election, end quote. William Evanina, director of the National Counterintelligence and Security Center, released a statement on Friday detailing the, quote, intentions and activities, end quote, of U.S. adversaries in the presidential election, which describes how intelligence officials are, quote, concerned, end quote, about interference, primarily from China, Russia, and Iran. Quote, some Kremlin-linked actors are also seeking to boost President Trump's candidacy on social media and Russian television, end quote, the statement said. Finally, Evanina said Iran seeks to, quote, undermine U.S. democratic institutions, President Trump, and to divide the country in advance of the 2020 elections, end quote. This is according to the Washington Post. Number 3, unemployment rate declines to 10.2% as economy adds 1.8 million jobs. The U.S. unemployment rate declined to 10.2% in July as the economy added 1.8 million jobs, the Labor Department said Friday. Previously, last month's June report showed the unemployment rate declined to 11.1%, with 4.8 million jobs added. The July report surpassed expectations as experts were anticipating just about 1.48 million jobs would be added and that the unemployment rate would decline to about 10.6%. However, the unemployment rate is still higher than during the Great Recession, and experts raised concerns about the recovery's slowing pace. Quote, the economy is still in a massive hole, but we're crawling back out, end quote. University of Michigan economics professor Justin Wolfers tweeted, quote, the problem is that the pace of improvement has slowed to a crawl, end quote. This is according to the Wall Street Journal and CNBC. Number 4, reports Whitmer met with Biden in person as VP decision nears. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer traveled to Delaware last weekend to meet with former Vice President Joe Biden, the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee. 2 high-ranking Michigan Democrats told the Associated Press on the condition of anonymity. If the reports are accurate, Whitmer would be the first known potential running mate to sit down for an in-person meeting with Biden, who is reportedly narrowing down his list of contenders. Whitmer's office declined to confirm or deny the trip, and Biden's campaign declined to comment. But flight records show a chartered plane flew from Lansing, Michigan to Delaware last Sunday. Whitmer, a first-term governor of a battleground state, has long been considered a possible running mate for Biden. This is according to the Associated Press and The Hill. Number 5, U.S. sanctions Hong Kong officials who implemented national security crackdown. The U.S. Treasury and State Departments levied sanctions against 11 Hong Kong and China officials on Friday, most notably Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam. The sanctions are in response to severe crackdowns on freedoms those officials have taken against Hong Kongers at Beijing's direction. These officials help implement Hong Kong's, quote, draconian, end quote, national security law in late June, and were involved with, quote, actions or policies that threaten the peace, security, stability, or autonomy of Hong Kong, end quote, the Treasury Department said. It lets China punish people who protest for democracy, who speak to journalists, or who otherwise oppose China's government. The U.S. also recently sanctioned Beijing officials over China's human rights abuses of the, and I know I'm going to mess this up, Uyghur Muslims and other minority groups. China barred entry to some U.S. lawmakers in response. This is according to the New York Times and the Washington Post. Number 6, Falwell Jr. takes indefinite leave of absence from Liberty. Liberty University announced Friday that its president and chancellor, Jerry Falwell Jr., has agreed to take an, quote, indefinite leave of absence, end quote, from his roles after a request from the executive committee of its board of trustees. The Evangelical Christian University, located in Lynchburg, Virginia, did not provide a reason for why Falwell is stepping away, but he did recently come under fire for posting a photo deemed inappropriate on his Instagram account that has since been deleted. The photo was not the first time Falwell sparked controversy. He has been accused of silencing students and professors, quote, who reject his pro-Trump politics, end quote, instilling a culture of fear on campus and mishandling the university's coronavirus pandemic response. This is according to Fox News and BBC. Number 7, Indian passenger flight overshoots runway, killing 18. An Air India Express plane overshot the runway after landing at Calicut International Airport on Friday amid heavy rain near the city of Kozhikode, 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 killing 18 people on board, including the pilot and co-pilot, and seriously injuring 16 others after the aircraft split in two. The flight was carrying 190 passengers and crew. One official said it was a, quote, miracle, end quote. The casualty toll was not higher, especially because fuel had leaked out without catching fire. Still, it was India's worst passenger air crash in a decade. India's aviation minister, Hardeep Singh Puri, praised the lead pilot and said it was too early to determine the precise cause of the accident. Investigators have found the Boeing 737's flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder. This is according to the BBC and Reuters. Number 8, DEA charges former Angels employee in Skaggs' death. Drug Enforcement Agency has charged Eric Kay, a former director of communications for the Los Angeles Angels, with illegally supplying drugs to pitcher Tyler Skaggs, who died in his hotel room in Texas last year. The 27-year-old Skaggs was found to have a toxic mix of alcohol, fentanyl, and oxycodone in his system. A criminal complaint affidavit shows Skaggs sent Kay text messages the day before he was found dead, asking him to deliver pills to his room. In a statement, the attorney for Skaggs' family said the family is, quote, deeply heartbroken to learn that Tyler would be alive today if not for a pill containing fentanyl, end quote, delivered by Kay. The statement also asked the Angels to make a public report the team commissioned that found, quote, no one in management, end quote, was aware the team employee illegally supplied drugs to Skaggs. This is according to ESPN and Yahoo Sports. Number 9, at least 8 killed, 14 wounded in attack on Somali military base. At least 8 soldiers were killed and 14 others wounded at a military base in Mogadishu, Somalia on Saturday after a suicide bomber reportedly detonated a vehicle at the base's gates. The death toll is reportedly expected to rise. The Islamist militant group Al-Shabaab, which has waged an insurgency for a decade and often targets Somalia's security forces, claimed responsibility for the attack, BBC reports. Al-Shabaab used to control large swaths of the country, but was pushed out of most large towns and cities, including Mogadishu. But it has continued to carry out bombings and assassinations in the capital and surrounding areas. Al Jazeera notes, as the group seeks to overthrow Somalia's internationally recognized government. This is according to Al Jazeera and the BBC. Number 10, Friends reunion delayed again. The planned Friends reunion set to bring back the hit sitcom's original cast on HBO Max has yet again been delayed. The unscripted special was scheduled for filming in March, but production was postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The hope was to finally film in August. Quote, it's supposed to happen maybe in August, in the middle of August, end quote. David Schwimmer recently told The Tonight Show, saying, despite the plan, quote, we'll wait until it's safe, end quote. No new date has been announced. Since the reunion is meant to take place on the show's original soundstage in California, it can't be filmed virtually. The special was intended to be a major draw to HBO Max when the streaming service debuted in May. This is according to The Hollywood Reporter and Variety. That's 10 things you need to know today for Saturday, August 8th, 2020. Thank you so much for listening. This has been What Makes You Smarter. I hope everybody out there is doing reasonably well. The news, my goodness, at least the news bites that I get, the 10 things you need to know today, it's just not good. It's mostly not good. No news is good news. I don't know if anybody remembers that cartoon, Gary Gnu. No news is good news with Gary Gnu. You remember that? Oh, man, I just went back to my childhood for a minute. So, and that always instilled in me, as long as there's no news, it's good news. Everything's going pretty well if nobody's complaining about things. And I find that to be true today. That's right. So take care of yourselves and try to take care of somebody else once you have yourself in order, for sure. You always got to look out for number one, but don't step on number two. How about that? I think I've heard that before. That one just popped into my head. I appreciate that. Hey, as I'm recording this on Saturday, tonight I'll be at the Choctaw VFW for the Video Dance Party Karaoke Jam. So if you're anywhere in the Choctaw, Arkansas area, that's around Clinton, Arkansas. That's the next bigger town right over. Come on out and play with us. I'll have the handy wipes for the microphones. Whenever somebody sings, I will wipe down the mics, and I'm sure we'll take care of each other. It's a nice big room. So, there's plenty of space to keep away from each other if the coronavirus is what you're worried about. Yeah. And I guess I have to still be vigilant. We have no cure for this thing. But as the numbers rise, I'm seeing the percentages. And I encourage you to check out the percentages as well. The rise in cases as opposed to the people that have succumbed to it, the deaths. All right, party people. Well, that's it for me on this edition of What Makes You Smarter. I've been doing these live on Facebook, YouTube, even Twitch. And the reason I'm on Twitch is because I've been doing some game streaming. So find me on, I have a new Facebook page, KeysDAN Gaming. And then find me on Twitch at keysdan.tv twitch.tv/KeysDAN. Also, add me on YouTube, youtube.com/user/KeysDAN. Easy enough. Am I done with the self-promotion? I guess. If you'd like to tell your story or hear the stories of others, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. That's it for me. It's KeysDAN, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.